when you have many unfulfilled desires, personality defects such as anger, fear, greed, etc. A lot of negative impressions in the mind, a high amount of ego. You have harmed others and have the basic nature of harming others, and then the lack of spiritual practice are all considered, I guess, based on uh, I think it was the Spiritual Science Research Foundation. This is what they can categorize as you becoming a ghost. It's very interesting. If you want to look more into it, you can go to their website, dig a little bit more into it. They have a whole laundry list of stuff. If we do have time, I might add a tidbit more in there. But Cody, I'm really interested in this ghost story that
Course,
you
yes.
have. Please do share.
Okay,
Yes,
so
Cody, you've been a skeptic throughout the episode, so I really want to hear it from you now.
I live in a very, very quote unquote haunted part of the United States. I live in Massachusetts. It was obviously where one of the original settlements were. So there has been a lot of death. There's been a lot of, wars here and stuff like that. So there's an aptitude of death. So
Yep.
there's a lot of, and all like even my house currently that I'm in right now is built in 1900, the year 1900. So you generally can't go to a building here that somebody hasn't died in. It's just how it is here. So it's very common. We have one of the biggest haunted museums in the States in Gardner, where I live. Gardner, Mass is one of the biggest haunted museums. People come from all over, but it has nothing to do with that. So we have a lot of cemeteries. And as a kid, you always have the stories of like wherever you grew up, there's always some crazy shit somewhere. Like there's always stories of where you're growing up. Like don't go to this mountain or this hill because this happens and blah blah blah. So of course, me being me, I'm skeptic. Like this shit isn't real. Like let me go.
Mhm.
So we drove. At the time, I was probably 16, 17, 17. So at the time, I was living in Florida at the time, but I drove back to visit my family. I drove back with one of my best friends, and we just did a cross country road trip at 16, which is horrible when I think about it as an adult. But anyways, um, so so we get here and we take some of my friends and family, and we get all in my car and we drive up to the cemetery. Now,
No, no,
to get
no,
to this
no,
cemetery,
no.
it's common here. Uh-oh.
Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you. My internet froze for a quick second. Sorry.
Okay.
Please continue.
What's
So,
scared?
so So to get to the cemetery, you have to drive about 5 to 10 miles of winding roads that are strictly in a deep forest. No lights, no nothing. Like no power lines. It is up there. So you're already kind of an ominous drive going up the mountain to this cemetery. Right in front of this cemetery there's a house. Now this house has been abandoned for years. It's all boarded up. Now part of the urban legend is that sometimes when you drive up there will be lights on from inside the boards and stuff like that, which is physically impossible because there's no electrical lines to the house. It's been abandoned for so long. But regardless, that's part of the urban legends. Now, the cemetery can't be seen from the street. It's walled off. You don't know it's there. But if you drive past the house, if you go up into the driveway to the house and you drive past the house, you can get through, and then there's the cemetery from the walls, and there's like cutouts and like the parts of the walls are broken in. So it's almost like somebody walled the cemetery off and didn't want anybody to come in. But like over years of degradation and people just being assholes, there's openings in the cemetery. So we drive up it. I go all the way past the cemetery and I turn around. And so I turn the lights off on the car because I want to scare the shit out of everybody who's in the car, of course. I'm 16. So I turn all the lights off in the car and then I start driving back up the side of the cemetery very, very slowly. Like I like literally just take my foot off the brake and I'm going like 2 miles an hour up the dirt road right next to the cemetery. So they're all looking behind because obviously they're the passengers and I'm driving. So I'm like looking forward, but like to the right in the cemetery because I want to see too. Out of nowhere, and this is why the whole lights being off and where it is important. There is literally, this is when I was 16, and I'm sorry for sharing my age here. This is like back in like 2004, 2005. Like cell phones were not very prominent. Like we probably had one cell phone in the car, and if you had a flashlight on it, it probably didn't last more than 5 feet. Like they sucked back then. So there was no light illuminating anywhere from this area. Yet I saw 2 orbs in the cemetery. I saw it. They didn't because they were looking behind and I was looking in front. Now, again, as a 16-year-old, so these orbs of light were directly between these graves, and we drove past it. It was pitch black before, so there's nothing in there. There's nobody in there, and they just randomly they started kind of like coming towards us, and then me, as the extremely tough 16-year-old that I was, slammed on the fucking gas and got out of there. Like I was like.
That is epic.